Welcome to this video round 2 coverage of the candidates tournament in Canty Mandisk. And the game we look at now in this video is Svidler against Andreikin. Both players have made a draw in the first round. Svidler, in a relatively interesting game, they could have continued at the end, but decided to call it a day with a really weird repetition. So Svidler was content with a draw as black against Kalashnikov, fine. And then Andreikin decided to play a long book line, a long preparation heavy line that basically guaranteed him a draw against Kramnik with the white pieces. And yeah, therefore they both have half point after round 1. So let's see what happened here. Svidler opening with e4. Yeah, his main move, but in the last couple of years Svidler has branched out. He has played d4, knight f3, everything. Common trend among top players to be versatile. And Andreikin is up for a surprise. He plays this line, which in conjunction with d6, nowadays by far the main move, is called the Kalashnikov variation. Not quite sure why. It's one of those unsolved name mysteries in chess. No one really knows why it is called the Kalashnikov. Yeah, certainly a surprise. I checked it. He has never played it before, Andreikin. So Svidler certainly could not expect this line. Yeah, it is a near relative of the Sveshnikov and can transpose in some cases. And of course, this line has been basically put on the scene by Sveshnikov. It's a second big invention in the opening. This was known in former years, but Sveshnikov really made it an interesting opening. It's very similar, but has some different features, and one we see immediately. Svidler, after some thought, he was surprised, played c4. White has a principal choice here. He can play with c4 or without c4. c4, of course, makes sure that black is never ever going to play d6, d5, or let's say only in very, very rare cases. So it's a firm blockade of the pawn. But it also, of course, makes this bishop look somewhat dubious, as it is very often in this Maroczy bind c4, e4 type of positions. The bishop is sometimes a problem piece. On the other hand, of course, it's a very good central control. The main alternative, as mentioned, is knight 1 to c3, more like a piece play approach. Here black can even transpose to the Sveshnikov if he wants, but the normal idea is to go like that. b5 is not mandatory, but usually played. Knight d5, and now black can play various moves. Knight f6, knight here. It's like the Sveshnikov, but not quite. So an interesting variation as well for white with knight c3. But okay, c4 is played. Bishop e7 first, knight c3, and now we have the knights here on a3 and c3. This is, of course, also why this type of setup in the Sicilian often is attractive for black. White loses many moves with his knight f3, d4, b5, a3, possibly here, and so on. These are many moves, and black only has made useful moves in the meantime. In general, this structure for black is not unhealthy at all, especially considering that he gets, if we put these moves on the board, he gets this bishop, which is notoriously bad looking at their own pawns. He gets this exchange quickly against white's, structurally speaking, good bishop. And therefore only retains, after this capture, only retains, strategically speaking, good pieces. He has two knights in a relatively close position, useful pieces, and he's got this useful bishop, which also controls or looks at the important d5 square. White, on the other hand, has the space advantage connected with this typical Maroczy bind pawns, and he can even build up on that with the further b4. We see that later in the game. So white has space, but on the other hand, he's got a potentially problematic bishop. This is not so important when you have a space advantage. A bishop, which is often called a bad bishop because it's on light squares, light squared bishops, light squared pawns. This is not so much a problem if you have the space. The structurally bad bishop is often getting a problem only if you also suffer from lack of space, like it is sometimes happening in the French defense, where white enjoys a big space advantage, and you, in addition, you have this maybe sometimes clumsy bishop on c8. This can get a problem, but here white's bishop is not such a big deal. In the long run, however, it might become tricky, this piece, so something that white needs to watch out for. Now Andreikin played queen g5, and I of course I looked this up in the database to somehow judge this opening selection, and this is a somewhat rare move, it seems. Experts of this line usually prefer a knight move here, play knight f6, or sometimes knight to e7. I actually like knight f6 here, and I'm not so sure about this queen g5 move. It looks active, of course, putting the queen out on g5, but I don't really, I feel that the play is going to mostly happen on the queen side, and I'm unsure that the queen is really well placed on g5 for any queenside action. It's not offside, I'm not saying that, but I say normally, yeah, let's just look at something. If you look at this, this is the normal way how this is continued, and here black plays the queen to b6 and then plays rook d8, rook c8, and compared to the game, I just prefer that. I think the queen is better placed on the queen side. It can also retreat to a7 if it feels uncomfortable on b6, but it looks at critical squares, this queen, while on g5 it's not so clear what it is doing. Let's check the game in comparison. Played queen g5. Svidler again was a bit surprised. Took 10 minutes to castle. Rook d8. This is another problem. Now you have to play rook d8 as d6 is hanging, and white is going to take it. If you play a move like knight f6, I will take it, and you cannot castle. So yeah, rook d8 needs to be played, and this means that after b4, which technically is a novelty, by the way, but there was only a couple of games played with that position, and it wasn't like white. Yeah, there weren't many very strong GMs as white. They normally played knight d5, which is not bad at all, but b4 feels right to me. White probably does not want to commit so early to any knight jump to d5 where it might get taken. You can easily build up. First play b4, play a3, queen here, rook here. You have many improving moves. This is also one slight problem with black structure in this position. It's a structure that is mostly geared towards reacting to white's ideas and trying to sort of be solid and play for counter attacks. It's not like black can do so much in terms of getting active himself, and this is not very comfortable to play. We see that after b4, Andreikin played knight f6, queen d3, castles, rook d1, all perfectly logical moves. And yeah, what are you going to do now as black? Yeah, note that it is quite comparable to the position that we saw before, but there the queen was on b6 and the rooks were on d8 and c8. And this just feels, yeah, I don't know, more harmonious to me, this setup. Not sure what black should do. He played a rook to c8, trying to correct the placement of the rooks. So get rook fd8 in. White now played knight d5. He has played almost all essential defensive moves. Yeah, and here I'm not sure. I think black probably should just play, let's say, rook d8 to complete the setup. And white, I believe, is somewhat better, slightly better after many moves. You can consider that. It's not bad. Let's do that. Knight b6, rook b8, and let's say a3, just improving the structure. And we have a position where black has very little play. He can try some action on the king side to somehow justify the queen position. Let's say h5, try something like that, but you're never going to get a mating attack here. This is very unlikely. And in general, I think white is slightly more comfortable here, but I do believe that this is better than the game. In the game, Andreikin tried to do something active, and it didn't really work out. After some consideration, he played b5, active move, but I don't really like it. I mean, I don't really like it. And Svidler's reply is really strong now. A very strong move, I believe. He played queen to g3 now. And this is just for concrete tactical reasons a good move. Of course, it forces things. White is simply threatening to take the queen. Black must do something in regards to the queen. And what he did is he took on g3. I was also looking at knight takes e4, also a move to consider. White then has a good reply, I believe, in the capture, and knight to b6. And this turns out to be really tricky now for black. This is hanging on b5, of course, and the rook is hanging. So let's say rook to b8. After that, white has this idea, rook takes d6, in order to answer the capture with c5. Quite funny. And white will get material back. This is a very interesting line, which can be continued like that. Knight e4, rook e6, f e6 takes on b6. And after all this fireworks, we have reached a position where actually material is equal. But white enjoys this strong pawn on b6, might get support with this, or also a knight move, of course, to let the rook join the game. White, I believe, is better. And this is just one sample line. White has, in fact, even alternatives to that. He decided, however, to take on g3 immediately. Black did. And now white has a very strong intermediate move, of course. Knight takes f6, check. Therefore, black must capture, and now white takes. And it turns out that this position is quite uncomfortable for black. It's simply for one reason. Black has made many pawn moves that have left weaknesses behind. All those pawns are weak. And in comparison, white does not have such clear weaknesses that can be attacked. And he has somewhat better piece deployment. The rooks are both playing, while black is lacking a move. If black would have the rook on d8 already, for example, he would probably be perfectly right. But the way it is now, it's really not comfortable to play at all. He took on c4 with the pawn. We can look at, oops, this was too much. we can look at alternatives. Let's say bishop takes. After that, white captures and takes on d6. Yeah, and we see that it's really uncomfortable. Black has this pawn attacked, and yeah, what should he do? If he keeps it, let's say king to g7, white will play the instant reply knight e3 with the idea to go for knight f5 check. And this is another problem, of course, of this somewhat wrecked pawn structure, the f5 square. Black has no way to prevent the knight from coming to this square. A move like knight e7 is mostly pointless due to the capture. And note that white is a pawn up. This is almost lost on c4 and so on. So king g7 is not even halfway playable. So rook d8 need to be active. Yeah, rook f6, king g7 is not so great probably. So white should go for something else. He can, however, simply take, and this is better. Rook takes d8, rook takes d8, and knight e3. After knight b4, a3, knight c6, rook c4. We reach a position where white simply has an excellent ending, with prospects of torturing the black player for hours. This is just very bad from a structural point of view, full of weaknesses. Even the a6 pawn is somewhat weaker than the a3 pawn, just because of the more active piece configuration. Yeah, that's a very, very bad endgame for black, very awkward. In the game, he decided to take with the pawn, not with the bishop. And after f4, again a strong move. Not difficult, but simple and strong. After f4 now, black is in real trouble. f5 is the idea, one idea. And still there's of course d6 hanging. He could have taken that immediately, but f4 now is stronger. Black only has the choice between various worse positions now. Let's say he covers d6 for argument's sake. Then white has f5 and bishop takes c4. And this is just a very comfortable position. 2 pawns against 1. White has a potential passer on the queen side. He has control over d5. And black still suffers from all those weaknesses. So it's a very unpleasant sight, this position for black. He tried to defend more actively, played f5. Andreikin did. And here Svidler just took and played knight e3, gaining a tempo on the bishop. Yeah, and here black actually only has one move to really continue the game. He needs to play a bishop e4, relatively active move, centralizing the bishop. It's not like it's much fun to play that, but it's simply the only way to continue. A possible line is rook d6, knight takes on b4, and here this captures, and then let's say something like that is a possible line, and yeah, that's not much fun. Play something like that. White is just better coordinated. Those pieces are just better than black's counterparts. This is very weak on f7. Black will get another piece that will attack f7 soon. White has the better king, and so on and so on. Probably a5 will also fall. Note that the a2 pawn is always easily protected by the bishop, while a5 does not have a comparable defense. So very uncomfortable. But black can continue to struggle. He played bishop d3 though, and this seems to lose instantly. White takes. Svidler, he also played it. and now played knight f5. And we relatively quickly sense what the problem was with this line. White now has the idea to take on d6 and also to take on c6, utilizing this fork. So if black plays, just to show the threat, a nothing move, white completely useless, of course, white can take,
check,
and this way win a piece. So this is an additional problem. White threatens here and here. So tough to defend. I mean, wrong word, impossible to defend. What should black do? If he tries to get out of this possible fork, let's say with king h8, then the second threat kicks into effect, yeah? Attacking the rook. You try to save it. I just play a4, b5 and win the knight. It's as simple as that. It's simply too bad, this position. If black plays rook d8, for example, there's rook c6. It's just too much.
Check.
Oops. And winning it back with a totally won position. Yeah, black is in fact out of moves here. It's no way to fight actually. He tried e4, yeah, using the pawns and trying to make it as difficult as possible. Interestingly enough, Svidler here took on d6 and not on c6. He could have won the piece. It's possible.
Check.
Like that. But he didn't do that. I suspect that after rook c8, knight d4, this position was not 100% clear to him maybe. Black might be able to approach with the king or invade here. I can only speculate. This also seems winning for white, but he probably thought that his line is more convincing. And in fact, it maybe is. It is relatively easy to see what he did. And it seems to be winning totally. He took on d6, yeah. And now black tried the only possible play, played e3. Yeah, if black moves the rook to c7, I'll just take e4, and it starts to get even hopeless from a pure material count. If black plays rook d8 here to save d3, I'm just going to support my stuff here and pick up with a move like that, pick up the d pawn. It's just totally lost. White also already has an extra pawn, and d3 will be won. Yeah, he tried e3 just for last hope counterplay. Yeah, knight takes c8. Svidler just takes it all, and this is the easiest way to play. Yeah, now of course black needs to push the pawns. You cannot recapture here. White will just take d3, and it's very easy. So he pushed d2, rook takes c6, and e2. It's quite funny. Don't see that too often. After 27 moves, black has managed to push both his central pawns to the second rank. But okay, by now white has so much material. He can play the funny defense, rook c to c1. And it's just funny. Both rooks are hanging, but as Tar famously said, you can only take one piece at a time. Black cannot take both rooks, which would be nice, of course. He can only take one of them, and he decided to take on d1, of course, with an under promotion. If you have the chance, you should do that. He took on d1 and got the rook. Rook takes c1, rook c8, and rook d2. This was what Svidler had calculated when he took on d6 instead of rook takes c6. He saw that he will get this rook endgame, and this is in fact a very easy win. White has two extra pawns. This means that he has a potential passer on the queen side. he also has an extra pawn on the king side. And this is just too much for black to defend. He only played a couple of more moves, rook c3, rook d5, or in fact only one move. After rook d5 here he resigned, simply also because rook a5 will attack the pawn on a6 and force black into a very passive defense, and then it is very easy to win. It's also simply that on the king side, white is also in an overwhelming position. If you see that, like rook c6, rook a5, I just put it on the board. Yeah, this kind of thing. This is like complete control. Black cannot move the pawns, and then you just improve the king, and so on and so on. At the end, you can also get this this rolling. It's just very useful to have the dominant position on the king side as well, so that you can easily switch the course of the action and also attack on the king side. This is just too much in this endgame. So Andreikin resigned, and this makes this tournament very tough for him. With this early loss against Svidler, who has scored an important win to get a good start in this tournament. Svidler played a really good game here. He he took some very good decisions. I think that queen g3 was strong, very strong move, and very decisively played, or incisively, maybe the right word. And also f4 was strong. And it's not very difficult, but all this had a very good natural flow. And I think he played almost consistently the top move of the engine. Not that I'm accusing anything here. I'm just saying that it's perfectly possible to find the move. There's nothing inhuman or machine-like about them. It's just very precise and good play. So yeah, good start for Svidler, and a good game to watch. This is I think a setup that you can recommend against this opening for very safe position as white, where you can try for something without really risking too much. All right, I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.